Hi, I'd like to talk tonight about why I think Twitter should be used in the intermediate classroom with adolescent learners. I'm using the extension from Google called Screencastify to capture my thinking, and it's a great tool for doing just that so that I'm able to flip between resources and show my thinking as I go. Also, a great tool for students to use within the classroom to share their thinking. The first reason I think that Twitter should be used in the intermediate classroom is because of what I know about the adolescent learner, that it's important to consider their physical, intellectual, emotional, and social development. What we know about teens is the influence of technology and how much they do use technology in and out of school. And I think that Twitter provides an excellent way of using technology within school. I also think that it supports the complexity of literacy demands that we need to be considering in all subject disciplines, as well as the broad range of skills that our students have. It allows for multiple entrance and access points. And I think that because of that and the various texts and resources that are available through Twitter, it is good for all students. I think that Twitter supports autonomy in learning, as well as engagement and motivation, where students can be exploring topics that are of interest to them. All of these are very important to the adolescent learner. The second reason I think Twitter should be used in the classroom is because of our mandate as Ontario educators to work on developing 21st century competencies in our students. When we think particularly of the Ontario context, and looking at the Achieving Excellence document and what we would like for our students, as well as the fact that the skills we want to develop are across those domains of cognitive, interpersonal, and intrapersonal. Twitter provides an excellent forum for doing that. When we look specifically at the competencies we're talking about, we can look at all of these competencies and see how Twitter could support in the acquiring and processing and interpreting and analyzing of information, as well as engaging in the inquiry process. Students would have lots to explore online and for asking questions. When we talk about innovation and creativity, we can talk about the ideas within a community and also how they can take risks in their learning by exploring and contributing online. Twitter is great for self-directed learning. It allows students to take the process of learning into their own hands, where they can be actively engaged. As far as collaboration goes, Twitter would allow for a multitude of things. I will highlight these last two on the list. The opportunity for networking and for considering the diversity of perspectives. When we look at Twitter's use in the classroom, I think it covers all of these bullets under communication. We look at different voices and opinions, and it gives students a chance to listen and understand and communicate. Also about selecting appropriate digital tools and understanding their use, and as well as global citizenship. It links students with the local and global world, as well as with a diverse population of people. We could do a lot of work with students around interacting safely and responsibly within those communities, and with creating a positive digital footprint. For that use alone, I think it's really beneficial for students to be using Twitter. I think that we have a responsibility as educators for our intermediate learners and beyond to help them develop that positive online profile. I have done a lot of learning myself around what that should look like and how we should be highlighting our interests and our passions and what we are good at, so that we do have that positive online presence. What we know about adolescents is they do like some voice and choice in their learning. So what I like about the idea of using Twitter is we can teach them how to use it appropriately, but they don't necessarily have to do that if they're not comfortable with it. And by that, I mean that we could we could do some work around a positive profile and online presence, and students might choose to do it on their own and publicly, or they may wish to do it more privately and try it that way. And there are excellent resources online like this one that students could use right within their Google Drive. They could have the same experience of using Twitter, but it would all be private, and that would respect their voice and choice in how they would like to explore using that social media tool. Past this, when we talk further about the use of Twitter for developing that positive online presence and digital footprint, I would like to point out the OSAPAC resource on digital citizenship. There are resources under their projects for primary, junior, intermediate, and senior learners. And it's really well laid out on this site for elementary and secondary students. But it talks about the 4 uses, or the 4 areas of being a digital citizen. One is critical thinking. And that is how we want them to be thinking effectively and evaluating sources online. The idea behind creation and credit, and being a responsible user, being respectful online, and exploring user agreements. Twitter does have a user agreement that would be worth exploring. When students see that it's 30 pages, it causes great reflection on how many of them explore terms of use for other social media apps that they are involved in. Past that, OSAPAC talks about presence and communication online and how important it is to communicate appropriately, as well as contribute positively to their local and global community. And it also explores health and protection in terms of protecting themselves online and the privacy of themselves and others, and then also protecting their own health in terms of how much online presence they actually engage in. That goes back to the idea, the privacy piece, of giving students the choice of whether they'd like to do it publicly or explore it privately. When we look at Twitter itself in terms of the curriculum and a particular subject area, I'm going to look quickly at the grade 9 or 10 Open Family Studies course, and in particular the first strand on research and inquiry, where students are asked to explore, investigate, process information, and communicate and reflect about their learning. The first overall expectation on exploring talks about exploring topics of interest to families and individuals. There's one here on anti-bullying programs. So if we looked at how Twitter could support that, we can go in and we could do a search on bullying, which I've done recently. The great thing here is that I can be selective in who I want to follow and what I would like to read or view about bullying. This one about kids and teens looks like one of interest. And the awesome thing too here is that I can add or remove them to a list. So I could actually create a bullying list or a list of another topic of choice that I can find my resources easily. So that's one use of that. I also like the fact that all of these options are available so that students can access these materials at their entry points, videos, news, broadcasts. There's different texts available to them and different options for exploration. The final point I would like to make about using Twitter in the intermediate classroom is that of how it addresses our need as teachers to be working on developing literacy skills for our students. When students are asked to think or read or write or reflect or represent or view in our classes, regardless of the subject content, they need to know that what they are actually engaging in is literacy behaviors. We want them to be thinking, expressing, and reflecting. We want them to be using their voice. We want them to be able to think about their thinking processes. We want them to think critically and be able to evaluate and analyze and ask questions and have strategies for reflecting and thinking appropriately. And literacy is all of our responsibility, as I said, regardless of our subject area. And I think Twitter provides us an excellent forum for doing that. Again, back to what we know about adolescent students in the intermediate classroom. They like voice, they like choice, they like the social piece, They like being connected, they like using technology, and they like to know that what they're learning is relevant in today's world. Twitter does all of this.